I love a good surprise. It opens up my eyes. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin, and today we're listening to Jean-Michel Jarre with his song Oxygène. We're going to listen to parts 1 through 3 today, and then tomorrow we're going to do parts 4 through 6 off of his album Oxygène, which was released in 1976. There haven't been an overwhelming amount of comments, but there have been a very specific amount that have asked me to listen to some of the music from this album. Well, I guess really to listen to the whole album. And I've always kept the name and the album name in my mind, but let's be honest, guys. The album cover is amazing. It's stunning. I love that. That is so cool. That is like something I would love to have like a nice vinyl of. That's beautiful. And so with all of that and the comparisons, by the way, to Mike Oldfield, except, you know, Jean-Michel is apparently more of the electronic based. All of that is enough to get me hyped, to get me ready, to get me interested and salivating to listen to some Oxygène. And after rambling for a while, I need some oxygen. As really with everything, I hope that this is a nice surprise. I hope that you guys enjoy longer videos like this. A lot of you guys said that you did, especially as I've been going through Mike Oldfield's albums. So I hope that you enjoy this video. Of course, if you do, you can like it, you can share it. I love seeing the shares. If there's anything, just share the video. That's awesome. But otherwise, I just hope that you sit back, relax, enjoy the show, enjoy the video, enjoy the channel, everything. Enjoy each other's company, and let's do it. We're going to do parts 1 through 3, like I said, since that's side A of the album, and then we'll do parts 4 through 6 tomorrow. Join me on Twitter. Join me in the comments down below. Support the channel on Patreon if you'd like. Let's do it. This is Oxygène by Jean-Michel Jarre. I hope I've pronounced his name right, and I'm sorry if I haven't. Before I start talking, I need to know your thoughts on these three tracks. Okay, I have one thing to say, and it's the one thing that was repeating in my mind as these songs were going, as the music was building, changing, climaxing, transitioning, shifting, building up and breaking down. There was one thing that kept on repeating in my mind as I was listening to it. 1976. Guys, let me repeat it in case you didn't hear me. 1976 is when this came out. This doesn't sound at all like 1976. This sounds like 2020, okay? Now, like, I know on one hand, electronic music and in some ways can be aged a little better than maybe other forms of music. Sure. Regardless, I think that that's a cop-out to say that, because there's plenty of electronic music or electronic-based and synth-based music that was made at this time or around this time. Let's be honest, sounds a little dated, okay? This does not sound dated at all, not in one bit. This is absolutely amazing. I understand, I get it, why you guys have been mentioning this one for me. First of all, I could not stop staring at the album cover while I was listening to these two tracks. And I'm sorry, I know that this is not the most engaging kind of reaction, but let's be honest. I'm not going to be like, oh, or like when the beat drops, I'm not going to be like, oh, bah, bah. It's not that type of music. At least not for me, right? This is closer to what modern day music would be, called IDM, which is intelligent dance music, right? This is what this is. It's electronic, it's not dancey, but it has a beat, but there's intelligence and a certain different type of creativity behind it, rather than letting the beat drop and letting the synths, take over the main melody. This is so complicated, not convoluted, just complicated, and we are compensated by what we get. And hopefully, we are satiated. I just thought of that. Should I become a rapper? Nah, not today. But these three tracks, the main things that I got from each of the tracks, the first one was almost like this very haunting and yet serene setting that we're kind of thrown into. We're kind of thrown into like this alien homeworld that we realize later on is not an alien homeworld. It's actually like our world, just like something went wrong. And then the second track kind of takes off the blinders a little bit and pulls back the curtain, and we kind of get a little more insight into what Jean-Michel is going to be doing in this album, because like the way that the beat comes in there was very surprising, because on my first listen, which is what this is, I wasn't expecting any sort of drums. I wasn't expecting any sort of beats. I was pretty much held captivated and left in expectation. I was left in suspension, always waiting for something, but I wasn't expecting anything to come. But when the beat does come in, it does it so intelligently, it does it so creatively, it doesn't override the music, as, let's be honest, a lot of music nowadays, the beat is like, that is what takes over the music, which I don't think is a bad thing. This is just different than that. This is about letting your mind explore the sounds around you. And I would relate this in some ways, not a lot, but in some ways to ambient music. You guys know that I love ambient music. I love Brian Eno. I love Harold Budd. Like, I love to be absorbed in the details of music and allow space to kind of fill in the rest. And that's kind of what ambient music is. It's more of a suggestion than an action. This, to me, is all action. This doesn't really leave anything to the imagination in the realm of space. But what this does do is create a spark in your mind to blossom and open up your mind so that your imagination can run free off of the sounds that Jean-Michel is creating. And like I said, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name. I'm probably going to keep on saying it different ways, and I'm sorry.
My name is Jean-Michel Jarre.
Jean-Michel. 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 Jean. Okay. Remember my French. But let's kind of stop back at the first track really quick. Because let's be honest, I'm not going to know much about the actual process of Jean making the music or anything like that. But it is really interesting to know, one, that he is doing everything on the album, period. Including the producing and the mixing and the mastering. But there's a lot of synths and even organ and even mellotron on here. And there's some parts, I think near the end of part 2, I think I may have heard something mellotron-ish. I'll have to listen to it again. But actually, let me go to part 2. I'm going to go to part 2 for one reason really quick. Because part 2 is really where things really started to pop off. there's some sounds, and I love that about this type of music, right? There's so many sounds and you don't know what they are or where they're coming from, but they're there and you like it. So there's a sound within part 2 that sounds like some sort of horn or brass instrument being played, like a saxophone, or it could be like flute-ish or something like that. I know it's not, but the way he simulates it on whatever synth that he's playing on sounds very natural. That's beautiful. It sounds like a saxophone in the back. That is so cool, the way that he's able to emulate actual instruments through the synthesizers. I would have never guessed, if I didn't have, the instrument list right here in front of me, I would have never guessed that that was a synth. I would have guessed like, oh, someone's playing saxophone in there, But part 1, like I said, is really an establishing shot for the music, which, by the way, the music is very, very cinematic in scope. I mean, like, creatively and obsessively so. But this sounds like a theremin kind of being played here, that whistly, warbly sound that it has. But it's very cosmic in its delivery. And I'm still looking at that album cover, and it's just so interesting. You guys know the Call of the Void? Like, that's the feeling you get where, like, if you stand at a cliff and you kind of look over the edge, it's almost like the edge is pulling you, and you almost want to kind of go over, but you don't want to go over, but like, don't go over. But your body is kind of leaning towards going over the edge. That's the Call of the Void, right? That's what I feel when I'm listening to the music and looking at this album cover. I feel like I'm being pulled into Jean-Michel's world. And he holds you in this beautiful suspension throughout. And that's what I meant when I said, like, these few songs, at least the first song I should say really, acts as a prologue to what's to come. I didn't know I was going to get a beat. I didn't know I was going to have music that built up the way that it did. I'm extremely glad that I did, because it's beautiful. I just wasn't expecting it, because I was held in such suspension in part 1 of the album. And you have little pulses in there. You have this saw synth that kind of rides over, acts like tidal waves throughout. My camera just stopped recording. I told you guys after a certain time it stops recording. But I was talking about the synths and the way that they just ride back and forth. It's an interesting kind of sonic erosion as the music comes in and out. I just like the movement of it all. And kind of getting back to my point about ambient music, I feel like this is ambient music in one sense, and that's because of the way the instruments drop in, drop out, carry forward, and leave. But I don't feel like this is ambient music. Maybe it is. I feel like this is more in relation to classical music, to be honest. I would say that, yes, this is electronic music, of course. That's what I would first put it as, just electronic, perhaps now categorized as IDM. But I would say that this has closer roots to classical music, the way that the music builds up, the way that it breaks down, the way that strings, synthetic strings, but strings nonetheless, come in and out. Just a lot of movements, a lot of parts, a lot of gears twisting and turning, but so much is happening. And that's another thing. Some people say that electronic music doesn't have emotion. And I always refer back to a quote by Björk, who is an emotional, treasure with her music. And I can't remember her exact words, but in an interview she had said something along the lines of, music has the emotion that you put into it. It doesn't matter what you're using, whether that's a guitar, keyboard, computer, you put the emotion in the music. It's about the person behind it. So this, to me, is extremely emotional. Okay, especially, I would say the ending of part 2 and a lot of part 3, I would say really is capsulating. I would say is very captivating. I can feel all the emotion that Jean-Michel put into this. And then immediately as we begin part 2, immediately carries off from part 1, naturally, but this little dancing light of a synth immediately brings a little bit more of a positive vibe to the song. The space left as the part 1 fades out, beginning something anew. The soft and gentle pulsing of synths there in the back. Now you know you're getting something, right? Now you're getting a little bass. Okay, a little more rhythm to kind of hold on to. And it's not until just a little bit later we get that drum. Listen to the drop. Listen to the drop, okay? That come down, that pitch down. Empty the space. Fill the space. And what an interesting beat to come in on, too. And playing the synth at the same time to make that impact just a little bit greater. And then it's from here that the sounds kind of build back and forth and warp and swirl around you, just encircling and enveloping you. This is good music. And then at times that synth that was at the forefront leaves for just ambience to build. Yeah, that's beautiful. Is that Sign? I'm not 100% sure. It's been a long time since I've made like electronic music and stuff. But I'm pretty sure that smoother kind of tone in the synth is a sine wave that they're using there. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a long time. Or maybe it's square. I don't remember. And right here near the ending of part 2, I think that this is the mellotron right here. Sometimes it just has that sound that I'm not always sure if that's what it is, but I like it. It's that array of voices that it's unmistakable, unless you don't always recognize it. And then in the end, we get these solar waves that kind of come back and forth. It sounds like big crashes. As they fade in and out, they kind of go to the side in the headphones and come back over. That's really cool, and a really interesting way of transitioning into part 3. Because part 3 starts with a very, very abstract kind of chord here. This sounds very Uncanny Valley. There's a little bit of beauty behind it though. Interesting use of discord and order.
I like that.
And we get that nice sharp edge little saw synth bass, I think that is. I'm trying to remember all my electronic terms. And once again, that beat. Okay, one thing that I think is the coolest thing about that specific beat used in part 3, okay? The kick, the bass, whatever kind of drum you want to call it, here it's playing on the 2 and the 4 of the beat. Most of the time in typical music, you play on the 1 and the 3, right? Boom, boom, the 1 and the 3. Here it's playing boom, boom, boom. It's a small change. Just reversing that simple change changes the atmosphere of the song. Because the song's atmospheres, like I said, feels uncanny. So what did he do? He didn't go with the typical beat. He switched the beat to make it feel even more uncanny. But you know what that does? It makes it more awesome. And that kick is small, compact, and powerful. Such good production in this album. I'm impressed. And we have a slight return to themes with that theremin-like sound coming back. Sounds like distant angels crying to me. And then this actually perfectly ends side 1 because the music fades away instead of into each other as it was doing before in the first half. So that is extremely impressive to me. And I repeat once again, 1976. So I'm just looking at The Guardian and I'm reading about Oxygène from Jean-Michel Jarre. And he's saying here, I had done production work with some rock artists, earning enough to set up a studio in my kitchen. I didn't have much equipment though, just a few guitar pedals and my first synthesizer, an EMS VCS3. I realized that using a Revox tape machine to delay the sound that came out of the loudspeaker created a huge sense of space. Now this I think is cool. With so little to work with, I had to be creative. My old Mellotron had only a few working keys, but I still managed to write Oxygène Part 2 on it. With so little, creating so much. My primitive drum machine, a Korg Mini Pops, was the sort of thing people played in pubs. But by using sellotape, I could make it play 2 preset rhythms at the same time, creating cool beats. You don't need to have a lot. Use what you got. Be creative. Be experimental. That to me is like absolutely mind-boggling. I don't know. I'm extremely impressed, to be honest. It says that Jarre composed Oxygène over a period of 8 months, using a number of analog synthesizers, 8-track recorder set up in his kitchen in his apartment. However, he found it difficult to get the record released. Not least because it had no singers, no proper track titles. You know, there wasn't anything like catchy exactly on it. And then finally he did find a publisher from Francis Dreyfus, which this is really cool, by the way. This is impressive. Although Dreyfus was initially skeptical about electronic music, he gambled by pressing a run of 50,000 copies. Okay? The album went on to sell 15 million copies. What? That came back in dividends. That is awesome. That gamble paid off, of course, for them, but definitely for us on the receiving end, being able to listen to stuff like this. This was extremely impressive. I would love to know what you guys thought of it. Definitely let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments down below. please, if anything, share the video. That helps a lot. I hope that you enjoyed this. I know that it's, it may, like I said, it's not the most engaging reaction. Let's be honest. I'm going to sit here and probably just like calmly nod my head. I'm just going to get lost in the music. But I hope that you guys enjoyed the music enough. Hopefully you enjoyed me enough. You can like the video. You can subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. I said share already. You can support the channel on Patreon. You don't have to, but it definitely helps a lot. And I just hope that you guys have a beautiful day. Hope that you enjoyed this. And you know what? For some of us who have not been able to get out and have a lot of fresh air, hopefully I brought some oxygen into you. Not everybody can get out. Some of us are still quarantined, etc., etc. So it's a little extra something. Guys, have a fantastic day. I'll see you tomorrow with the rest of the album, side 2. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.